All right, guys, here we go. Wrapping up chapter 2, this time talking about different types of selling. Hunters are salespeople who have the personality, motivation, experience, and preference to do missionary selling, which involves developing new business. This is also commonly referred to as direct selling. So, hunters, think about the idea of going out, killing a cat, dragging it home, eating it, prepare yourself, all that sort of thing. You actually go out and look for your customers and deal with people one-on-one. Farmers are salespeople who have the personality, motivation, experience, and preference to do service selling, which includes calling on, servicing, and getting increased business from current customers. Sometimes there are opportunities within certain companies for people to do different aspects of the selling process. So if one aspect of being a salesperson is more intimidating to you than another, or you're better at one aspect than another, you might be able to have that opportunity if you're not really good necessarily or don't feel like you can do all the different aspects of sales. This may be an approach for you. If you're better at dealing with someone once they're already in the door and fostering that relationship to help it to continue to develop and grow between that business and your particular company, you might have that opportunity. Two types of customers. There's the inexperienced generalist. They typically do many jobs in their business. It's, the man with many hats, or the woman that is the CEO as well as the chief custodian. That sort of idea. They're more interested in expert marketing and advertising advice and in results than in the price of advertising. They want value for their investment that says that they don't necessarily have to focus on this particular thing because they're going to rely on the salesperson to help them to be able to come up with a customized solution for their business because the advertising is only one thing that they have to deal with in the scope of dealing with all the other things involved in their company. Meanwhile, experienced specialists are typically those that specialize in one particular activity, such as media buying, where advertising agencies come in and that sort of thing. They're experts in this particular thing. They're primarily interested in price and in service because they know the game. They know what's going on. They know what they're looking for. So they don't want to mess around with dragging out the process and learning about different things. They already know, or at least in their minds, they already know what they want to know. So what they want is fast, responsive service. This is what I want. Give it to me. Then they get it. Let's go back now to that term missionary selling, calling directly on an account and not on the account's advertising agency. If the account has one, is referred to as direct selling. You as the salesperson are talking directly to the business owner or to the one person that is responsible for making the decisions on advertising. In the retail business, consumer groups that used to share homogeneous tastes have now splintered into many groups, all demanding different products to meet their different and changing needs. So retailers have had to change their ways of doing business to satisfy and attract consumers who are generally better educated, more cynical of product claims, and more demanding of quality. Because of the digital era that we're in, it's very easy to learn about a company, to learn about a product, to learn about a service, to see reviews of people that have tried that particular product or service. And you're dealing now not just with the word of the company, but also the word of public opinion and trying to navigate through all of that. Salespeople who sell for traditional media must be prepared to show customers how their medium complements ads on platforms like Facebook and Google. How can you encourage a particular company to use you as part of the marketing solution. You know, being online is great, but if they don't know where to find you online, well, that could be an opportunity for radio or for television to help people to direct that traffic. Selling to retailers. A retail specialist is a salesperson who thoroughly understands the retail business and who might have had experience working in retail. And it can take much longer to sell to a retailer who is trying to fit advertising into a more complex marketing and merchandising mix than it is to an advertising agency that is merely trying to make an efficient media buy. So again, the ad agencies, they know what they're doing, they know what they're looking for. So it's much more matter of fact and transactional dealing with them. But when you're dealing with someone that is really looking at a multimedia approach and trying to do it all on their own, it does take that educating. It does take that coaxing. It does take that establishment of building a trust relationship in order to make a sale and to make that sale effective. Service selling. Service selling entails calling on existing customers and partners, and most often involves calling on advertising agencies. So you're dealing with customers already in the system. They've already bought advertising, and you're trying to enhance or increase the experience for those clients. The advertising agency business. Let's talk about it somewhat. Advertising agencies came into existence in the 1880s when they sprang up as sales representatives for newspapers and magazines. These are entrepreneurs that went to these various publishing companies and said, hey, let me buy some of your advertising space and I'm going to go out and resell it. That's kind of how that came about. As sales representatives for the media, they kept a 15% commission on the amount of money advertisers spent with them in the media they represented. So someone that was selling for and had a partnership with, say, the Raleigh News and Observer, the newspaper company, they would basically buy that advertising, and then they would go out and they would sell that advertising to other companies. And when a company bought the advertising, say the salesperson bought an advertising space for $100. They would sell that advertising space to the client for $100, but then they would turn around and pay the News and Observer $85. And they kept $15 for themselves as a commission. So that's how that kind of came about. Agencies also make money by adding a 15% commission to the material, services, and production they purchase for a client, a practice that is referred to as grossing up a charge. So let's say the ad agency is involved in producing a television commercial for a client, and they need to purchase a beach ball. Okay? And the beach ball costs $10. So they're going to pay for the $10 out to buy that beach ball for the client, but they're going to charge the client $11.50 to cover the cost of the beach ball, and then also be a 15% fee for the fact that the advertising agency bought the beach ball. So they're making commission in both ways, both on commission of the sales out to various media companies and making commissions on top of things that they purchase on behalf of the client in that regard. Fee arrangements. The fees ad agencies charge are typically based on one of these three things: a monthly retainer fee against which media commissions are credited, an agreed upon charge per hour for work that is performed, or a complex formula related to the amount of work the agency performs for a client as a percentage of the agency's total overhead. So the 15% structure, that still exists today, but there's other arrangements that may be had between an advertising client and the ad agency that is working on their behalf. Some basic functions of an ad agency. The creative function is handled by art directors, copywriters, and creative directors who create advertising. So the people that actually come up with the ideas for the content and make that happen. The media function is carried out by media planners, media buyers, and media directors who evaluate media and place the advertising. And this is broken up into a couple of different types of people. Planners recommend what media and how much of each type of media should be used. And then media buyers evaluate and select which digital platforms, networks, stations, whatever other different types of media they're looking at. They decide which ones to buy, and they're the people on whom media salespeople typically call on. So there's the strategy aspect, and then there's those that take that strategy, implement it, and try to be the best stewards of the funds available within the budget in order to purchase the particular advertising. Media departments can be organized by product, by market, or by a particular medium. So depending on the ad agency, you might have someone that specializes in automotive or someone that specializes in restaurants, or you might have someone that specializes in the Northeast versus the Midwest, or you might have someone that specializes in radio versus television. The account management team usually solicits clients and services those clients once they are signed up. So they have salespeople in their ranks as well. They're doing the same thing that salespeople in media companies are doing. A digital agency is one that specializes in creating and placing advertising in the online media. With the growth of programmatic buying, there's also media agencies that specialize in buying programmatically, and they're called trading desks. You can kind of picture what happens on the floor of the stock exchange. They're looking at the information coming in, and they're deciding to buy and sell and make decisions based on that information. It's very similar. Now, the bias on television. The media department likes to buy network television because it can spend and administer huge amounts of money with fewer people than it would take to place a similar amount of money in a lower priced radio advertising campaign. There's only so many networks, and those networks reach nationwide. So it's a great opportunity for someone to easily and conveniently blow a lot of money in one or a few major outlets, as opposed to trying to cater to several different outlets in smaller geographic areas. However, the network television bias is eroding as television network audiences shrink. The big four are no longer seen in many people's eyes as the big four. The effectiveness of television advertising, the reputation of it anyway, has gone down as the audiences have shrinked and people look more towards viewing things on demand, whether it's through online platforms or through DVRs or what have you. And the value of the immediacy of television ads is not near what it was. Furthermore, with digital advertising's ability to precisely target individual consumers, the appeal of broad-reach, non-micro-targeted television advertising has diminished for many marketers. You're no longer just casting a wide berth of millions and millions of people tuning into television. You're trying to reach the right people that are on a particular platform that are looking at a particular kind of content, and many media buyers are seeing that now as more strategic. Selling to agencies. Most advertising agency buyers do not care much about results. They're experienced specialists who are mostly interested in the type of audience a medium has, the price of the advertising, and responsive service. Again, they know what they're looking for. So they're going in with that mindset and making decisions based on what is available to them. Agencies will serve their clients because of an advertiser's trust, faith, and honestly, too often, their whim. You're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with temperaments, you're dealing with biases, and sometimes the rationale for why someone chooses to buy one thing and not buy another or deal with someone in particular can be very superficial. That's part of the reality of the business. Calling on clients. The secret of getting agencies permission to call on their clients is to keep the agencies involved all along the way and to go over your proposals with them so that they will be assured that you are not going to make them look bad. Now, so this is kind of a sticky wicket here. You as a salesperson might at times feel like you need to contact an agency's client directly to deal with them on some sort of certain logistic. And many ad agencies feel like, well, you might be encroaching on them in trying to either make the agency look bad or worse yet, steal the client from the agency and deal with the client directly. So it really, really depends on how you, again, build that trust relationship with those in the ad agency. Number one, make sure you approach the ad agency first before dealing with their client and working with them directly. Many times, the ad agency will prefer that you use them as the go-between. But, depending on your approach, you might be able to get them to give you a little bit of wiggle room. Numbers and data are a security blanket. If a buyer can bring in a campaign on budget for the desired audience or impressions level, the ad agency and the buyer have a way of quantifying their performance to clients. In other words, can you provide the ratings and shares numbers? Can you prove the potential audience that is there? Can you possibly prove that a certain demographic is there? Those sorts of things are very easy to measure in a certain aspect, even if the measurements may not tell the entire story. Agency buyers depend on media salespeople to help them by keeping them thoroughly informed about the various media, demographics, attentiveness, engagement levels, programming, content changes, demographic changes, anything that helps them evaluate the media better and make better buys. So agencies want excellent, helpful, and responsive service. The more that you can be upfront and honest with them about what you have, what you don't have, the more they're going to appreciate that and trust you. It may mean that you aren't necessarily the right fit for a certain client that they're representing, but they will definitely keep you in mind for others and come to you more often if they trust you. Communication skills. Important characteristics of a salesperson, according to buyers, include communication skills. That's a big one. We've talked about that quite a bit as it relates to establishing the trust relationship. So clarity, consciousness, oral skills, flamboyance, those things. You don't want to talk over someone's head or kind of talk around them. You want to be clear, you want to be honest, you want to be direct and matter of fact. Empathy, insight, and sensitivity, those things are important. Knowledge of the product, the industry, the market, both within your industry and within the industries of those that you're trying to service. Problem-solving ability, using imagination in presentations and packaging, coming up with innovative, different ways to help a client get their message out. Respect and service, also really big. Personal responsibility for results, owning it when you mess up, but also humbly being proud when something goes well. And also not knocking the competition. Now, here's what we mean by that. Of course, you want to present yourself as different or better than the competition, But if you go and be kind of pompous about it, then that doesn't look good for you and can actually work against you. So in summary, some new assumptions. The internet caused a fragmentation of the media in ways that we had not seen in the past 20 years. The internet increased the opportunity to target customers. It is much more precise than even when the way that radio went with formatting or cable television went with various niche audiences. Programmatic had disintermediated buying and selling. It tried its best to take the middleman out, that the buyer can just go in and do what he or she wants to do. The internet has caused an explosion of complexity in the advertising ecosystem. So even though there is that pro, quote unquote, of people buying directly without dealing with a salesperson, there's also a wild west of how does it all work and what exactly are you buying and how do you know what you're getting and how much you're getting and is it worth how much you're spending? All that has become a bit ambiguous, even with all the information that's out there. And internet advertising, again, as easy as it is, as convenient as it may be, even if you don't fully understand it, it's under attack because, well, how much can we trust the various platforms in truly giving us the things that they say they're going to give us and what they're worth? And, are we dealing with a reputable company that even if the information is great, we go and buy and it winds up being a nebulous website that is seeking to scam? Those sorts of things. Some new approaches: a teaching, tailoring, and taking control approach. So you're now doing this customizing based on clients' needs, educating them in the process as to how and why you're tailoring and what benefit it is to them. A serving partnership approach, looking out for your customer's best needs. A selling as educating approach, combining those two different things. And algorithms as the competition, providing a personal approach to sales and the relationship in business as opposed to just dealing with a computer and, matter of fact, numbers. Some trends: the customer burden of solutions. This is that idea that many times they feel like they're out there on their own and they have to navigate through all of this. The rise of the consensus sale. There's you as a salesperson dealing with several different entities within a company and not just one decision maker. Increased risk aversion. Customers want to know that the investment's going to be worthwhile, that they're going to see results. A greater demand for customization. They want that tailored experience for them that is perfect for their particular need. And artificial intelligence changing all steps of selling. Trying to take the personal approach out. Trying to make things matter of fact. Looking at numbers and data and computers making decisions for us. Maybe it's good in some areas, but it can't necessarily do everything, at least not yet, when it comes to personal comfort and assurance and things like that. We're not quite ready to fully trust the computer. So that's going to do it. That's chapter 2. Finish up your notes, get them turned in. Make sure you take a look at the survey questions on Blackboard. Fill that out before we get together for class to discuss the chapter. You may want to go ahead and start taking a look at the study questions as well. So when we get together to talk about this chapter, we threw a lot of information at you this time around. Let's see if we can make some sense of it. Maybe you have some opinions on the things that you've gone through in this chapter. Let's talk about it all when we get together.